Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Life Conversations with a Twist. I have Allie here on the podcast today. I actually just met her, and I'm really excited to dive into your story. Allie and I were connected through a good friend, Kara. You'll actually hear some other podcast guests that will be on the show because she is connected, and that's what I love so much about this women community is like, how do we support each other? How do we connect everybody? So thank you for being here and welcome.
Oh, thank you. So fun to be here.
So tell us a little bit about who you are, where you live, a little bit about maybe your personal life, kids' life, all the things.
Okay. My name is Allie Zuur-Arnerich, and I have been in the healing arts world for over 20 years. So my journey started as a massage therapist, and from there, I've really just been kind of following the breadcrumbs, right? Where my clients' needs show up. I'm like, oh, maybe I should learn more about that. So from massage therapy, I started working on pregnant women, pregnant friends. I was kind of in that demographic. And so learned all about prenatal massage, got certified in that. And then I had clients asking me to be there during their birth so I could support them through that journey. So then I became a birth doula. And that was prior to even having my own children. So
Oh,
I experienced that before I had my own kids, which was beautiful.
I was
So
like, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
yeah, it was actually a good thing. There's something, I'm involved now really deeply with women's health. And I just have to say, as a woman, we have so much intuition and really, we've got memories kind of stored in our DNA. So the first time I witnessed a birth, it actually felt familiar to me. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I've seen this before. In some other lifetime, that memory is stored somewhere. So it felt like a very normal and natural thing, which was a blessing.
Yeah. Oh.
Sure, before I had my own kids.
I have three children of my own, plus I was a surrogate. So I love being pregnant and I actually really love the birthing process.
Me too. I love
Yeah.
that. And I hope you share that far and wide. You know, my story in my head about birth, my mom always said like giving birth was a blessing. And like same kind of thing, enjoyed the process. Like it was hard, but pain with a purpose. So that was my narrative, which is really helpful. I think unfortunately, so many women have the opposite narrative that it's
Mhm.
awful and it's painful and it's the worst thing ever. And so I think we need to amplify that story that it can be a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. I just always remember like being wheeled in a wheelchair into like the hospital to like have birth or to give birth. And it's just like this like feeling, even when my friends are like, oh, I'm about to go, I'm about to have a baby. I'm like, I just remember that feeling and like it comes over me and I'm like, oh, it's such an exciting time.
I know, I know. I had my daughter at home
Oh,
with
okay.
which was pretty amazing. My son, I intended to have him at home, my first birth. We ended up switching to the hospital, but everything was totally fine, and we signed ourselves out as soon as we could to go back home. So I kind of had both experiences and equally amazing and empowering. So
Well,
that's
thank
really
you for
what's,
that work. I mean, that's
yeah,
yeah.
it's beautiful. I was really, and it really helps out too if anybody's listening who is starting in on that journey, hiring a birth doula or having some other support person there, it makes the whole experience so much more easeful, especially for the partners. A lot of the times when I was meeting,
Mm.
prenatally with families, the husband would be like, wait a minute, isn't that my job? Aren't I supposed to be, helping out and supporting? And it's like, oh gosh, after every time, the husbands were like, thank God you were there. Because it frees them up or whoever partner is just to love the woman as she's going through that, where I can handle like a little bit more of the pain management, be that intermediary between the nursing staff and the woman and their wishes. So, anyways, yeah, it's a good thing.
Fun fact, actually. So when I gave birth to my surrogate baby, it was a single mom, and so she actually had a doula that came in. And at first, I was like, I wasn't sure like how she would be a part of it, but it was really cool to have her there. And then she went and supported the mom because she was single,
Mm.
obviously first child, and wasn't sure like how that process was going to go. So she flew back with her, and then fast forward my last retreat in October, the doula was at my retreat.
Oh, no
It was
way.
like the most wildest thing. I'm like, I forgot like how like reconnected we were. And she was like, don't you remember me? I was the doula. I was like, oh my God.
Gosh, that's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. I'm like,
Amazing.
how do you, well, I guess she remembered me. I mean, I guess how do you forget somebody
Even
when you're
more,
going
yeah.
through that? Yeah.
That's amazing.
I
That's
love
amazing.
that.
Yeah. So that journey, I did that after I had my own children. My husband and I, and our kiddos, we started kind of moving around, following his work around the state. So we were a little bit nomadic for a few years, which was actually really fun. And then we ended up landing here in Nevada City. And being a birth doula, being on call posed a unique challenge when I was a mama to my own kids. It was a little anxiety, like, oh my gosh, am I going to get a call at 2 in the morning? What if I have to take my kids to school? So I kind of hung that up for a while. I still have not picked it up, but maybe someday. Um, but I got back into massage, and as I was working here locally, I began working with a woman who was at the end stage of her journey with cancer.
Mm.
And we became very close. I was massaging her weekly up until the end of her life. And her journey was so beautiful. And I couldn't help but be struck by the similarities of being a birth doula and then really supporting somebody through their end of life journey. There were so many similarities that, again, that felt almost like a natural thing for me to be doing. And her life was just full of no regrets. That's what she kept saying towards the end. I have no regrets. I have no regrets. So after she passed away, I don't think she knew even, and her husband probably doesn't even realize how impactful that was for me, because it started my own thought loop of like, I don't want to have regrets, like
Mhm.
no regrets. And I'd always wanted to dive more deeply into health. I have a pretty scientific mind. I have a bachelor's of science degree, so my mind is quite scientific. And body work and being a birth doula was very intuitive. Like my
Mhm.
brain was almost kind of shut off. I was just doing more intuitive work, and my brain was kind of screaming like, "I want some more knowledge." So let's do something that requires a little more brain power. So I started studying health and nutrition and endocrinology because so many of my clients were experiencing things like thyroid issues, weight issues, and just weren't getting answers. So I felt really called to learn more so I could be of service. So I started that journey probably close to 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And so even with that, I've been following the breadcrumbs. I've started with metabolic health, working with prediabetes, insulin resistance, PCOS. And then my demographic really shifted to this midlife transition of perimenopause and menopause. So I became certified as a perimenopause coach, a breathwork facilitator, just really trying to equip my toolbox with all the things to help primarily women as they navigate this transition of hormonal shifts, which is, really connected to metabolic shifts, and then through the breath work training and other modalities I've studied, now I'm quite obsessed with the nervous system,
Mhm.
understanding that that's really running the show. So that's kind of where I am right now. I have certifications in emotional freedom techniques, so tapping,
Mhm.
hypnotherapy, Reiki, neurolinguistic programming. So I've got a pretty wide skill set and really trying to meet women at that intersection of midlife with hormonal shifts, metabolic shifts, and nervous system dysregulation. I mean, I'm sure, as you know, talking to so many women, as we hit our 40s into our 50s, we're burning out at a pretty rapid rate. So I'm pretty called to help women tap into their intuition, tap into their kind of inner wise woman and inner mentor, and learn the skills and strategies to start taking care of themselves in a different way.
You have to come to one of our retreats. I think that's why Kara actually connected us to begin with, because I feel like that is so much of what our demographics is like we're just like all kind of navigating this. So I love that. What do you do as a coach? What do your clients look like? Do you do one-on-one coaching? Do you do group coaching? Do what kind of work do you do around that?
Yeah, both. I
Both.
do
Okay.
one-on-one work, and historically, I was doing like a pretty set program. I have a signature program called the Reset, and years past, it's been 6 weeks long, and that's one-on-one coaching. I like to have people test their glucose levels, so whether they're wearing a continuous glucose meter or using a finger stick test, so they can get real-time data of what's best in their body. If I were to take issue with kind of the wellness space and the coaching space, it's a little bit, it can be one size fits all. Like, we all have our trainings and our backgrounds, and then that's the lens with which we view every client, even though that might not be the appropriate protocol or program for that specific client. So I'm really into bio-individuality. Everybody's body is unique. Food acts differently in every body. So I'm pretty focused on finding what works best for each individual. So that's kind of what the one-on-one work looks like. So we look at nutrition and then all the other lifestyle medicine pieces like sleep, movement strategies, stress mitigation through breath work, through meditation, or whatever works best for that person. And then in recent years, I've been, incorporating more of the NLP, um, neurolinguistic programming work to really bridge the gap between the head and the body. So much of it is the integration work. And that's what I've been doing in my groups and in one-on-one coaching, because we surely are not at a point where we have lack of information. We are like drowning in information. And yet we are struggling with our health more than ever in history. So it's clearly not an information problem. It's like an integration
Mm.
problem. So that's really my work has shifted, and I'm kind of starting there now with clients, removing any blocks, removing limiting beliefs, inner critic work, so that we can get that head knowledge and bring it into the body and live it and like make the changes we want to make.
So good. Um, it's funny, before we jumped on, I was just saying, I'm 42. We were having
Mhm.
this conversation at dinner last night. I'm like, am I 42 or 43? I feel like once you get into the 40s, you're like, I don't even know how old I am anymore. I know I'm getting older. Um, and there's so many women in my group, my age group, and we're all like, this is the conversation we're having right now is, oh my God, are you getting night sweats? Oh my gosh, I'm a raging crazy person. We have unwanted body weight. We have no energy. Talk to us about what a process would look like for somebody who is kind of like in this space. I have a friend who specifically was like, I went to my doctor and they don't know what to do. And I'm sure you can speak to that because
Yeah.
it's like I feel like our doctors, when you go to Kaiser, you go to Sutter, they try to like solve problems, but they're not like kind of like being proactive about the problem and giving us tools of like how do we navigate it in a healthy way instead of like nobody wants to take pills, nobody wants to take hormones, nobody wants to do all of that, but like how can we bring health into that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, just to pull out what you said, it kind of hits it on the head. Being proactive, where our healthcare system is reactive, right? Typically, we're seeking out help from our medical professionals. I don't want to say when it's too late, but it's like when all the symptoms are there. And so then the reaction is to mitigate symptoms, not actually get to the root cause. So to that community of women in your life, and I mean, I'm 47, I'm in it too. Um, to all these women experiencing these symptoms, like, first of all, you're not broken. Like, that's what I just want to like get the message out. This transition of perimenopause into menopause, every woman is going to go through it. I call it the great unifier. It doesn't matter if you have kids, if you're a CEO, a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter. You're going to go through this transition. So let's accept that.
Yeah.
And you have to remember too, women weren't even included in scientific research until the 90s. We were literally, it was illegal to include women because we have these hormonal shifts.
Mhm.
And when I work with women, I'm finding that so many of us at this phase of our lives don't even understand our menstrual cycle. Like, we've
Mhm.
been bleeding for 30 years. We don't even understand the phases of that. And now here we are navigating out of it. And we're like, what is going on? So there's such an information gap there. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty passionate about closing that. And all the symptoms you mentioned, I mean, our hormones are fluctuating.
Mhm.
And, we'll speak to just like estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone tanks first, typically in this transition. And that hormone can really help with anxiety, with sleep. So when we have an ample amount of it, we're sleeping better. We have less anxiety. We have a little bit more resilience in the face of stress. So when that tanks, suddenly we're a little more anxious. Our sleep is disrupted. We're not feeling as good. And then estrogen starts to fluctuate wildly because it requires this buffering of the progesterone that's now tanked. So then we can either have very high estrogen, which is night sweats, the mood swings, all of that, and then very low estrogen. And when we have low estrogen, we're going to put on weight. It affects our metabolism. So on top of that, we're losing muscle. We're a little bit more sedentary. And typically at this phase of our lives, we're wearing like a million hats. Right? We're professionals. We've got children, whether we've got young children or our children are like leaving the nest. And maybe we have aging parents and we're navigating that process. So there really isn't time or space, it seems, to think about our own health until we're super symptomatic.
Mm-hmm. Ugh,
Right. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a compounding kind of problem. And then the strategies that worked 10 years ago to like lose that 10 extra pounds, it's just not working. Like we can't cut calories and hit the treadmill. Nothing's working that used to work. So we really have to meet women where they are and utilize strategies that work for this season of life. And again, there's so much information out there. It's hard to know what's what. It's like we all see the pills on Instagram ads, like lose your menopause belly and whatever it is. And it's just, I want to put that out there, the kind of PSA. It's never just one thing, and there is no supplement that's going to fix it. It has to be like a well-rounded foundational approach.
I love that. Take us on the journey as a client, what that would look like if somebody was interested in going down this journey. Like what are kind of the steps or kind of what are the strategies that you put in place?
Yeah, so I typically, again, like I said, starting with kind of the embodiment work, but oftentimes people need to see results in a short time. And I totally understand that, right? Our brains need to see that this is worth it. And so I typically start with nutrition because it's something that we're doing every day. It's just the biggest lever that we can pull on because we're feeding ourselves. And so where I start with that, I find so many women in our demographic are not eating enough, which is
Mm,
very counterintuitive to like the 80s and 90s that we all grew up with and like eat less, eat less. Women's bodies thrive on safety, right? Our nervous system needs to feel safe because it will always prioritize reproduction and survival. And if we
mhm.
are undernourished, our sex hormones are going to be diminished and we're going to have worse
Wait,
symptoms
so
of
you're saying if I eat more sex? My husband would probably
yeah.
love to hear that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We could really edit that into that, right? But it's so true. I just find that we're undernourished, and
Mhm.
primarily with the nutrient, like the macronutrient profile, we're not getting enough protein. I have a lot of women who come to me and they're maybe eating, they're like, well, I'm eating an egg for breakfast. And it's like, well, that's 6 grams of protein. I mean, you need 30 in the morning really to set your to signal safety to
Wow.
the nervous system and balance your blood sugar throughout the day. So estrogen is tightly linked to our blood sugar control. And again, that's a lens that I look through with clients. What's your blood sugar doing? Blood sugar swings create mood swings. When our blood sugar tanks, our cortisol and adrenaline kick in. So we're actually having a stress response, which feels like anxiety, right?
Mm,
And so are
mhm.
you really having anxiety or is your blood sugar totally out of whack? So we start there to stabilize blood sugar, signal safety to the body. So we're starting with protein in the morning. We're making sure you're getting lunch. So many women are not eating lunch because the workday gets busy, meetings, everything happens. And then oftentimes dinner can be too close to bedtime, which is going to disrupt our
Mm.
sleep. So again, that's really where it's a great place to start because we're nourishing ourselves every day anyways.
How much protein are we supposed to
Um,
eat ideally per day in grams?
I mean, again, blanket recommendations are tricky. There are some general truths though. Some people say, I mean, there's a lot of different opinions on this.
For sure.
Some professionals say 1 gram of protein per ideal body weight in pounds. So like if you want to weigh 130 pounds, if that's your ideal weight, you should be eating 130 grams of protein. So as a coach, doing this for a long time, I would never go in and say that to somebody who's maybe currently eating 50 grams of protein a day because their nervous system is going to be like, that's a huge change and that feels terrifying. I'm shutting down and we're not doing this. So
Totally.
I would let's start to increase your protein. And I just start with breakfast. Let's start with that meal of the day, right? So how can we aim for 30 grams of protein in the morning? And if somebody again is eating oatmeal and no protein in the morning, I'll say, how do we get 15 to 20? Let's start there. Start where you
Mhm.
are. I think that's so important when we're working with clients on a health journey. Again, because the nervous system is running the show and the nervous system needs to feel safe, we have to make incremental changes because anything that's new and different does feel like a threat to the nervous system. And then we're back to our comfort zone, right? Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So starting where they are. So that's really the first lever I pull on. And then we get kind of until that becomes kind of the habit. right?
Mm,
I really work with behavior change at like the habit level. People who are successful, whether on a health journey or in life, are not more motivated than the rest of us. They just have better habits.
mhm,
So that's really where I start with people. How do we make this a daily habit that it becomes routine? And then we layer in, right? The next step for me typically is sleep.
mm, mhm.
Um, Sleep is really intricately linked again to metabolism and blood sugar control. One bad night's sleep can lead to insulin resistance the next day. And when people are tracking their glucose, especially with the continuous glucose meter, they can see that they can eat the exact same meals that they ate maybe the day before and their blood sugar was awesome. They have a bad night's sleep, they eat that same food and their blood sugar is all over the map. So
Interesting.
yeah, we have to
What do
dial
you
in.
think? And I know this is another general, but like ideally, how much sleep should we get?
So everybody's really different. I will say that. We all kind of have a different sleep chronotype. Like
Mhm.
some people are truly night owls, some people are truly early risers. So again, I mean, I work with shift workers who are working the night shift. I work with people who have to get up at 4 in the morning. So I always like to reverse engineer it. Like I think keeping a consistent bedtime and a consistent wake time is huge.
Mhm.
Um, I think 8 hours of sleep, 7 to 8 minimum for most women, is going to be ideal. Some women can thrive off 7 hours. Some women need 9 hours. So it's really kind of using your life as the lab and experimenting with what works best for you. If you're chronically underslept, it's going to be really tough to make moves on a health journey.
Mm.
It's kind of, it's a very big domino that we have to get in check.
How do we? Because this is my problem. I'm very consistent. Like I go to bed at 10, I wake up at 5 because I go to the gym. Like it's very regiment, even on the weekends. Like my brain will automatically wake up. But I always find that like I wake up in around 1 or 2, and because my brain's like going, like, do you have any advice? Because I know
Yeah.
I'm not the only one
Oh,
where
no,
it's
you're
just
not
like,
the only one.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like this thing that triggers, and then I just like go down this path of all the things I have to do, and then I'm like stressed out about it. So I'm like, do I need to, I can't go back to sleep because I feel like I need to get up and wake. Like, how do you navigate that? Do you have
Yeah,
answers?
gosh, that's so understandable. And that's, again, you're not alone, like you
Mhm.
said. So oftentimes that can be a blood sugar dip in the middle of the night. And again, like I mentioned, our bodies want homeostasis, our bodies want this balance, and it kind of takes care of it. So if the blood sugar dips too low in the middle of the night, adrenaline kicks in, cortisol kicks in to bring the blood sugar back up. And again, that feels like a racing mind.
Mhm.
So sometimes when you wake up like that, your mind is going to make meaning of it. Like, why am I awake? Oh, it must be because I've got that meeting tomorrow. And then I've got to get my kiddo to their practice at this time. How am I going to navigate? So then you just get on the thought loop. So I think strategy one for that is be sure that you're spacing your meal 3 hours before bedtime. We don't want to go to bed within like an hour of eating dinner because sleep is for repair and rest. It's not for digesting. We want the
Interesting.
body to be free to do its not digesting at night. So make sure that mealtime, make sure that you aren't having a ton of, processed carbs in that evening meal, that you're going to have fluctuating blood sugar. Aim for protein, whole food sources of carbs like whole grains or starchy vegetables. And, try to have good sleep hygiene. Put yourself to bed like you would your child, right? Dim the lights, maybe take a warm bath, read a book, make some tea. And for those of us that have the habit of drinking wine before bed or the cocktail, that's a recipe for waking up in the middle of the night.
You're so true because all of last week I wasn't drinking wine. Like I was just like, okay, I'm gonna take a little break. And then last night I had wine like with dinner because we were celebrating a birthday. And then sure enough, I like wake up and I'm like, my heart is like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and it's because of that. Makes sense.
Yeah. So again, it's just the body being a body. It's our body working the way it should. It's just how do we kind of shift those inputs so we're not disrupting our sleep. Alcohol is a huge one. And again, it's really just, I will never say cut it out completely because everybody has their own relationship with alcohol. I don't know that I'm buying into all this stuff, like there's no healthy amount of alcohol because a lot of people who live into their hundreds drink alcohol every day. So, I'm not saying it's a health benefit, but is it as detrimental as we think? But for this season of a woman's life, when our hormones are absolutely on like spring break party time, out of control, it's not the time to be using alcohol to calm us down because it's going to have the opposite effect.
Okay,
It's not.
women, all my friends I know who listen to this podcast,
Yeah.
like we all like keep talking about it. We're like, we just need to not.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially like you were saying, like when we're so busy that it's like a calming mechanism. Like every friend who does it, they're like, there's something about it where when you're cooking dinner, like you have a glass of wine to like unwind for the day. And even like last Friday, I was like angst, and I'm like, I just need a glass of wine. But it's like, no, because it's like it's like all the work that we've done for the whole week, it just gets ruined.
And to be really intentional with it. Like, is that actually what you need? Or could you maybe sit and breathe for 3 minutes? And I mean, that's why I like breath work so much because you feel a shift in an instant and you're already breathing anyways. So why not control the breath, manipulate the breath, focus on the breath, and you can have that same effect. And also to remember those urges or the craving, like I need this glass of wine to shift. If you just ignore that or do something else for like 2 minutes, the craving's gone. If we can just move past that moment. And then again, if you're going out with girlfriends or a nice romantic dinner with your partner, or like you said, celebrating something, that's a really appropriate time. I feel like alcohol in that setting, I don't see a downside
Mhm.
unless you're like, binging or getting wasted. But like having a glass or two or a cocktail with girlfriends and you're socializing that's celebratory, to me, that's a really important part of life. And joy, like oxytocin, this other love hormone, is just as important as all the other ones. We're so focused on like cortisol and stress, which is, yeah, we want to mitigate those. But finding joy and having fun is important too. But if that glass of wine is disrupting your sleep, it's not actually helping. And again, that's just for this season. Once we're post menopause in like 10 years, it likely won't have the same effect because our hormones are going to be stabilized. They're just going to be pretty much gone and we won't have that same effect.
So perimenopause is a 10-year thing.
It can be. So
Oh
it's about a
God.
5 to 10 year period. And everybody's different. And here I want to throw this caveat out there as well. With social media and how everybody's talking about it,
Hmm.
I work with a naturopathic doctor a lot, and we share clients, and we're working on a collaboration program that's going to be amazing for women in this transition. But we say, like, 35-year-olds are coming and be like, I need hormone replacement therapy. It's like, well, I don't know. Like, do you? Not to say you don't. We don't want to gaslight anyone, but when that's so in our paradigm and like out there in the ethers, oh, it must be my hormones, it must be perimenopause, it might not be. There might be other things going on. Does
Mm,
that make sense? So, yes,
absolutely.
it's great that we're talking about it. We need better care, we need better information. We need our doctors not to say to us, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And they're not trained in this, and that's okay. Even, OBGYNs, they're trained for, pregnancy and childbirth. And so they're not really trained in this second puberty is really what it is. We're just going through a reverse second puberty here
Oh
for
gosh. Along with our children, our teenage children
children.
who are
I
going
know.
through
I have
it.
a 15-year-old daughter. Yeah.
Mine's 14.
Yeah. So, it can be 5 to 10 years. Some women are very symptomatic. Some women are not symptomatic at all. There's countries around the world where women don't have any of the symptoms that we experience here in our culture. So there's a lot to it of why some of us are more symptomatic than others. And it can kind of be this like this, what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of this bucket that we're like, everything must be this. It must be perimenopause, must be my hormones. But again, there are strategies. So we talked about nutrition, sleep, putting muscle on is a huge strategy. That's going to be more important than cardio. Cardio is still important, but if we have to pick our battle or pick our time, you'd be better off focusing on muscle because that's supportive for our blood sugar balance. And blood sugar balance helps support hormone balance.
This is like
Um,
another topic that all my friends that work out are talking about now is like we all need to do more weight training or, hiking and not so much like running and cardio, which I love it for the mental part of it. Like there's something about when I run, like I feel like I'm like clearing things out, but I know that's not good for my body at this.
it's not that it's not good for your body. It has to be a little bit of both.
Mhm.
And you need to listen to your body too, right? So if you're feeling really depleted and like you're dragging ass the rest of the day after a run, that's just, again, using being curious about your life, being curious about your habits is so important. Instead of, I mean, our subconscious is running over 90% of our thoughts and actions every single day. So we're not consciously choosing much in our day-to-day life. We're just kind of putting yesterday on repeat. And so it's important to kind of put the brakes on sometimes and be curious, be an investigator and a detective. Is this still working for me? This strategy that I've been using for 5 years. Do I feel good after this or do I feel depleted?
Oh, so good. Okay, so we need to eat better, more protein, less sugar, less processed foods.
Yeah.
We need better sleep,
Mhm,
at
mhm.
least a routine. We
Yeah.
need to build muscle. What else? Like what other like what little changes could we make to maybe make this not such a painful experience?
Really, I would say turning down the volume on all the noise out there.
Mm,
I think we do, I mean, again, this kind of love-hate relationship with things like social media. I think it does help us feel less alone. We know that we're not the only ones going through this, but I think the amount of information, the amount of protocols and strategies and programs and coaching options can be quite paralyzing because there's so much to do. There's so much to choose from that we're just like, okay, I can't even choose any of these. And I can't have a 10-step morning routine that starts at 5 a.m. So screw it. Right. So I just turn down the noise on that and turn up the volume on our inner kind of the intuition and just get back to basics. I mean, that's really the message I would say of other little things we can do. Just get back to basics. Like you probably don't need a 5 supplement herbal routine if you're not sleeping well and you're not moving your body every day because that's not going to do much, right?
mhm,
So dial in the basics like you said, eat whole real food, focus on protein, get your sleep dialed in, sleep like it's your job, like make it a priority. And then the other piece too is that nervous system regulation. So many of us are in fight or flight, sympathetic mode all the time. We're going, going, going. We're kind of addicted to our cortisol drip that's always going. We need to be able to regulate into calm.
mm,
We need to be able to access that other side of our nervous system because that's where healing takes place. That's where our rational mind can come online. And again, it doesn't have to be, I hear this all the time from clients. It's really why I studied breath work that, oh, I can't meditate. I've never been able to meditate. I can't quiet my mind. And it's like, you don't have to quiet your mind, A, but I understand the mental block to meditation. So breath work, there's no barrier to entry. You just breathe. And there's so many simple strategies to feel what it feels like to be in the parasympathetic side of your nervous system, and feel that sense of calm and ease. And we're worthy of that,
mhm,
right? Women, we tend to be go, go, go. We always have to be doing something. We're managing everybody's schedules, all the appointments, all of the things that we feel like if we stopped for a moment, everything would fall apart.
mhm.
I mean,
I
first of
mean,
all,
this
it's
is
not.
why we put the Alicia and I are my other co-founder for our retreats. That's why we put these retreats together. I mean, we do overnight experiences where it's 2 nights, and then we also do just full days. But it's like allowing women to just escape all the noise of everything around them and to be present, to listen to their bodies, to breathe, to meditate. And I was not for that at all before I started doing these retreats, but it's been life changing to just be present, to again let your mind just be. And it's such a special thing, and I'm here for it. I think it's so important. It has absolutely changed my life. It's made me slow down a little bit and not run like 50 miles an hour. So I love that.
Yeah, that would probably be the final piece of it. And again, like this kind of interconnected loop of metabolism, hormones, and nervous system, like they are so intricately connected, and the nervous system is running the show. It decides if we burn fat or if we store fat. It decides everything that's going on in our body. Not much is under conscious control. So we want to make sure that our nervous system is in the right state so we can feel how we want to feel, look how we want to look, show up how we want to show up. We've got to keep that nervous system in check. So again, that's the embodiment work and the integration work. So we can take all that knowledge of like the protein grams and all of that and bring it into our day-to-day life. Because the retreats, and I mean, I think that is so amazing that you offer that. I'm that's like my vision for this year. I want to do more retreats and be a part of retreats because women need to know what that feels like and then have a strategy to bring pieces of that back into their life.
Oh, so good. Well, we would love to have you.
Right?
We're in the process of planning our next overnight, but we are definitely doing more day retreats throughout the year. So we would love to have you. I think this is an important topic. I don't know if you know Jennifer Long. She also does some of this work too. She's in Marin. Um, but it's again, it's this topic that is probably talked about daily in my friend's life. How can everyone find you? How can they get connected? I want to know all the things myself personally. So shoot, let us know how we find you.
Yeah, I'm Wellness with Ali, Ali, on Instagram. Again, I'm threading that needle of utilizing it and not spending too much time on it, but that is probably where I'm most active in the social media space. I have a website, wellnesswithali.com. And then I have a free discovery call if anybody just wants to talk about what's going on. And I have no ego in this. I know my wheelhouse. I know what I can do to help people. So if I'm that person for you, we can come up with a customized program. You can do a group program with friends, which is really an incredible way to get results and to be in community. And then if I'm not the right person for you, I'll help refer you out to somebody that can really support your needs, whether that's hormone replacement or whatever it might be. So, and that link to book the call, we can put it in the show notes if you'd like to do that. I'm open for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. I'm so glad we were connected. I love women who are doing work like this, like special work, just focused on one thing. I think we all need it. We all need to like band together and support each other and know that we're not alone. It's like you said, we're all going through it, right? At some point.
Yeah, it's like it
Yeah.
is. It's a great unifier. It doesn't matter. We're going to go through this. And then we have like another 40 years of our lives. We can reframe this as like a really powerful transition to show up like in our power, like in our purpose. I think that's the paradigm shift I'm really after.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope we stay connected. We would love again to have you at one of our retreats. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me